All right, so let's kick it off with tell me something good. What good happened in your businesses within the last 12 days? I'm not supposed to call on Valerie, but she's healthy, but her voice is not recovered. So Valerie, but I love it. I love it. What, tell us something good, Valerie.
We had 2 closings this week, so
Louder so we can hear us.
I can.
Okay.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
team's hustling too.
Yeah.
Lots of
Haley has a
offers.
new. Where's Haley? Is Haley in here?
He wasn't here.
All right. Well, Haley got a new escrow this week as well. So round of applause to Haley. Mark, what do you got?
Oh, just, Diana just closed her, first listing, yesterday, reported everything.
Wow.
They're good. And, EXPCon was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, while we're talking about it, what were like 2, maybe 3 quick takeaways that you got from EXPCon?
Well, gosh, if you're involved in the agent attraction, or if you're not involved in the agent attraction, they just opened up, if you cap, they open up all 5 levels now. And if you're an icon, open up all 7 levels.
Yeah.
And then they, for internationally, if you have somebody international, you can pair them up with a international leader. And that would actually sponsor them, but you'd actually sponsor the international leader and your prospect underneath you directly. You wouldn't get revenue share off the international leader, but you'd start getting revenue share off the person that you're plugging into them, and they count as an FLQA.
Wow.
So
Okay.
a lot of great enhancements, and that's just tip of the iceberg. Everybody knows that Canva Pro version is now part of the package. We don't pay for Canva anymore.
Let's go.
And
That's $15
and
a
then
month.
ISO.
Yeah, Sisu's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal. Anyway, that was just
Sisu's not cheap either. Sisu
But
was.
we had guests there that were just blown away by it.
Yeah.
And getting started. So anytime you get them in that environment, Cabo coming up, I put a high priority on it. It's almost 100% sponsoring rate. So
Love it. Love it. All right. Anybody else have any other tell me something goods? All right. Damon. All right. Everybody say hi, Damon. I think he wins as being the youngest guy in the room. All right. So
This is my fellow Andre living.
is he younger or is he older?
No, he's saying.
Okay. All right. Nice to meet you all, Hunter. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
All right. And so let's get into our upcoming events. So coming up, when is this, Jose? Do you know what day?
On the 11th. All right, day 1 starts on.
Day
the
one,
11th.
Matt Plummer, who came and spoke. He's doing it. This is a free class, does not cost anything. Go ahead and scan the QR code. But if you want to do like a 5-day transformation with him, it starts on Monday, November 11th at 11 a.m. So 11 at 11.
It's 5 days, and then you can scan that QR code and it'll take you directly to the site where you can sign up.
Yep. So thank you, Matt, for offering that to our agents. And then what else do we have?
The car next week.
PCAR's next week?
Next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
November 14th sounded so far away. It's already here. November 14th, Sean Kokoska will be coming. He came a couple years ago, packed out the room. So please make sure you show up early, get a parking seat, and we'll see you at PCAR on November 14th with Sean Kokoska. Bring friends. So what Clark was saying a little bit about EXPCon, that's what these are too. These are little local events for you to bring people who are looking for a better option, a better alternative to maybe where they're at right now. And again, price is free and the education is priceless. Let's move on to the next. Nice little animation there. This is getting fancy. Proactive personal safety for realtors. She spoke at PCAR. I had a number of people ask that she would come and do a more in-depth presentation here for us. So she's coming November 21st, so right before Thanksgiving.
Is it gonna be hands-on? We're gonna be practicing?
She actually.
She has a
said
taser, man. You can be the demo for the taser.
No.
Yeah. All right. And then what else do we have? And then of course, the Christmas party coming up on December 19th. 6 to 8, it'll be fun. Santa, Mr. and Mrs. Claus will be here, so it'll be a good time. There'll be live bands and food. So please write it in your calendars. You can also invite people to this as well. So that way they can experience the culture and kind of see our beautiful office and what it's like to work with us. And then of course, as Clark mentioned, you do not want to mix EXP or Cabo. What is it? March 11th through 16th. Everybody else can see it. March 11th through the 16th. Ed Milet, Tom Ferry, and well, Brent keeps announcing it. He's not locked in, so asterisks. But Gary Bruck is also supposed to be there.
I may mention too that if you register early, while they last, you get oceanfront. oceanfront rooms.
That's good to know.
Yeah. There's obviously a limited amount of them, but if you register early, no extra charge.
And flights are very affordable if you
Right
don't
now.
fly Southwest.
Yeah, we say that every week, guys.
Yeah,
Don't let
Alaska.
Southwest scare you off. Don't let
Don't
Southwest scare you off. I mean, it's probably been a month now since I did it, but when I did do the flights, it was $400 round trip. What was it? Direct? There were no layovers. It was with a lot. So please, if you're gonna attend one EXP event a year, this is the one you want to attend. It's fun, it's educational. And I mean, come on, Ed Milet and Tom Ferry, these are two world-class speakers. Is that it, Jose?
Yeah, and besides, I can talk about this. The
Yeah.
Alliance, the
what?
toy drive.
Oh, yeah.
So you see this little flyer that everyone has on their chair? So the Alliance Foundation has a toy drive that they're running until December 9th. And it's to help kids at risk, foster children. They'll be taking I think it's toys and gift cards. So you guys want to help the community out, help kids in need, go ahead and just bring in toys and the boxes right there.
Perfect. It's gonna be here, and then thank you for New Vision.
Yeah,
New Vision team for helping put this together. All right. So without further ado, let's welcome to the front of the room our in-house lender, Mr. JJ Mack. All right, everybody.
What's up, fam? How's it going? All right. Well, I am excited because it's Fed Day today, and that means we're going to cut rates again. And so we kind of knew they were going to do this. We hope they're going to do this. I mean, they haven't said it yet, but it's like 99% chance they will. So they're probably going to cut by 0.25%. And that's kind of baked into the rates. So don't go back to your clients saying, hey, rates are getting better by a quarter today. It's not the case, but hopefully this does continue to help. The real big thing about today is going to be afterwards, where our friend Jerome Powell talks a little bit about what's going to happen next time and what's going to happen next year. So December, there's going to be one more rate cut, hopefully. If they're going to do that, or if they're not going to do that, the hope is that they will. If they do decide to cut that rate in December, we probably will see some rates continue to come down a little bit. They're going to be tough, how hard are they going to be on inflation? Are they going to continue to stop cutting rates? Are they going to keep cutting them? So we're going to see what they do there. And then if they're going to continue to do that into next year, what's their stance going to look like? Are they going to continue to go hard on it, or are they going to continue to let off the gas a little bit and try and let inflation have some time to catch up? So that's kind of what we're going to see. We'll see where rates are. They obviously haven't been looking good over the last few weeks. So we are seeing rates kind of back in that high 6, low 7 range, if you're looking at conventional loans with 30-year fixed rates. So be careful there with your clients. Make sure. We just had a client come to us because of the fact that this was yesterday. They called us and saying, hey, we just got into escrow, and now our lender is saying they can't qualify us. They didn't, they were qualified 2 months ago. They was at a 5.875% interest rate. Now it's 6.875% interest rate. They don't qualify. And so make sure your lenders are doing their job, getting back in front of their clients. If you're putting pre-approval, if you're getting pre-approvals, you're writing offers, check with the lender first. Make sure they are still qualified based off of today's rates. And make sure also that not only are they qualified by the lender, but make sure the client feels comfortable with it as well. Sometimes I can make them, do the deal, but sometimes that client just doesn't feel comfortable with it. So not only make sure that, just don't talk to the lender and say, are we good? Make sure the lender is talking to your client about that payment. One thing I want to talk about, and then I will sit down because I want to have as much time as I can for the featured speaker, but I wanted to share a story with you guys today. It was it's actually kind of a two-part story, but there was a lead, one of the agents, I don't know if they're okay with me sharing their name, so I won't share it, but they came to me and they said, hey, you mentioned that you're okay with me giving you the pipeline. You guys can call for me. And I said, yeah, I will definitely do that. And so we were calling through their pipeline. We were making appointments for them, getting them all set up. We got an appointment for them. And this particular client, this was probably 3 months ago now, this particular client decided, yes, I do want to work. I do want to do this. I was working with another lender, and he told me I couldn't qualify. So let's try it out. I had like a 560 credit score. We sent him into credit repair. They got him fixed up pretty quick. We got him into escrow, and now they're buying a house. And that all came because this particular real estate agent decided to let us help them with their pipeline. And so it makes a difference. You know, this agent was not doing that. He was too busy showing homes, doing the things that he needed to do to continue to make money. And so if you have a pipeline, if you have a list of people that you're just not able to call and you have access to that, send it over to us. We'd love to make those calls for you. We'd love to get them on the phone and help you get some more deals in your pipeline. But it was a cool story because this particular person didn't think they could qualify. They had a 560 credit score. They had no intention of being able to purchase a home anytime soon until we called and said, hey, let's check it out. And so then we were able to make that happen for them. And now they are purchasing a house and they're going to be very excited because they're going to be able to live there for Thanksgiving and having all their family there. And so what a success story that is. If you guys have things like that, or if you have clients like that, you just don't feel like you can hit on, let us know. We'd be happy to help. Any questions about interest rates or loan programs or anything you guys have heard through the week that you guys want to talk to me about?
How
Not?
do you feel that the change in presidency is gonna affect student loans, and is that gonna change the borrowers' debt ratios dramatically?
Lending wise, I don't think so. In terms of lending, what we do is if there's no payment on that student loan, we have to hit, depending on what kind of program it is, if there's a government loan or a conventional loan, we have to hit them with either a 0.5% or a 1% payment. And so that's not going to change. In terms of the people having to pay back their student loans, yes, that could change because, you know, obviously our if a Democrat president would want to have student loans forgiven, where more of a Republican stance would be to pay those off. So depending on what happens there, I don't know. But in terms of the way the lender is going to look at it, that shouldn't change. We should still have to use that same 0.5% or 1% payment if there's no payment on it already.
And if there's a payment, you have to use the actual payment.
Correct. Yeah, it has to go into forbearance or deferment in order to use that lesser of the 0.5% or 1%. Good question, Barry.
Thank
Anything else? If not, I'll sit my butt down.
All right.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks so much,
guys.
JJ.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. And so up next is Jeremiah. Jeremiah helps leaders avoid bad decisions that cost the most. Everybody, please put your hands together and welcome to the front of the room, Jeremiah.
Okay, we're gonna start with a difficult question for you. Who wants to work with a realtor? Who wants to work with a realtor?
People that want to buy a house.
Okay, people that want to buy a house. Other answers,
Sell a house.
okay? Sell a house,
Lenders who want the loan.
what do you mean by that?
It means they'd like to work with us so they can get the business.
I see what you're saying.
Work with the agents.
Yeah, okay, so let me see here. Okay, who else? Who wants to work with a realtor?
Home inspectors.
Okay, home inspectors.
Or just with vendors.
Who wants to hire a realtor? In terms of hire you to help them do something,
Investors.
okay? Other answers? Who wants to work with a realtor? Who wants to hire a realtor?
Situation where they young death or divorce, but that would be people that want to buy or sell.
Okay. The answer is, nobody wants to work with a realtor. Nobody wants to hire a realtor. Nobody wants to work with a realtor. However, there are people who have problems. And they think a realtor might be able to help them solve the problem. So those people who have problems, who think they need a real estate agent to help them solve that problem, they might be willing to put up with the cost and inconvenience of working with you. Nobody wants to work with a realtor. Who wants to work with an attorney? Nobody. Do people hire attorneys? Why do we hire attorneys?
Me
protect
too.
ourselves from.
They know what we don't.
Right. I've been a leadership coach for 17 years. I guarantee nobody wants to hire a leadership coach. They have a crisis. They have a problem. That's why people reach out to me. It's the same with any profession. I think one of the mistakes that we make, whether we're leading a company, or anyone who needs the cooperation of others is in a leadership role, whether your title says it or not. If you need other people to cooperate with you for you to be successful, congratulations, you're a leader. And your team, those are the people you need cooperation from. So if you need clients to cooperate with you, or maybe your peers, or other vendors, or your boss, or an assistant, then you're in a leadership role. Okay, new question. How do you know what you're worth as a professional? When I say worth, yes, money is part of it. But there's three components. So the question for you to think about is, how do you know what you're worth? When I say worth, I mean, it's really three things. If you're worth more, you should get compensated more. It's also influence. If you're worth more, you'd have more influence. People would want to know what you think. They'd ask your advice, things like that. And impact. Meaning, if you're worth more, your work would matter more. Okay. So how do you know if you're worth more or less, or what you're worth? I heard experience. How do you know what you're worth as a professional?
Value, right?
Yeah, how do you determine what value you bring?
What people will pay.
Okay, so market rate. One way to think about it. What's it worth? I don't know what someone's willing to pay for it. It's a really pragmatic way to think about it. How else do you think about that? How do you know what you're worth professionally?
All that certification.
Okay, knowledge.
Whether people listen to you.
Your ability to solve their problems.
Your network.
Your network. Okay. Any other answers or other thoughts besides what's up on the board? You know what you're worth.
Your ability to persuade or move people to action.
Okay. Funny, there's a kind of a loop here. The more you're worth, the more influence you tend to have. And the more you can persuade people, the more you're worth. So correlation for sure. I'm not sure exactly cause and effect. I would argue if you're worth more, that would increase your ability to persuade, which would then make you worth even more.
Negotiations,
What do you mean?
well, like, your ability to handle negotiations with a different,
I'd say that's
personalities.
probably a flavor of being
Right.
persuasion. So your ability to convince people of something.
Right,
Okay. We work for 50 years, maybe more or less. I don't know of a more important question to have a really good answer to than how do you know what you're worth? How do you know what you're worth? There's a lot of wrong answers to this question. And what's interesting is it's not just how do you know what you're worth as an individual? How do you know what your company's worth? How do you determine the value of the work that you do? And I have a different answer. Actually, the answer I have is up here. But what I've noticed is most people in organizations aren't thinking about this in an effective way. And as a result, they're actually worth less because they're not thinking about it effectively. And they suffer as a result of it. As a result, they don't get chosen as often. So clients don't do what they want them to do. They don't get the jobs they want. They're not attracting the investors they want. And it's not because an inherent lack of worth, it's because they don't articulate it well. They're not thinking about it in a good way. So here is an idea. Feel free to call bullshit. I'm not saying it's the truth. This is where I land on this. And I figured this out for myself maybe like 11 years ago. I've been testing it since then. I do very little work in real estate. Most of my work is in tech, healthcare, or some financial services. I have a couple mortgage clients. So I've been testing this idea across industry. So I'm super curious to know if there's exceptions in your industry. Here's the idea. Your value as a professional, no matter what job you do, your value as a professional is directly related to the value of the problems that you solve. Directly. So if you solve a $10,000 problem for a client or an employer, then your value, your worth to that client or employer is some portion of $10,000, represented as compensation, influence, and impact. If you solve a $10 million problem for that same client or employer, then your value is directly related to the $10 million problem that you solve. And it's not just a real estate job. It is every single job. Every job exists because there's a problem that somebody needs solved. Think about who has hired somebody recently? Anyone hired somebody? Yes. What was the role that you hired for?
Lawyer.
Okay, there you go. What was the problem that you were hoping to solve by hiring the lawyer?
Getting this other company off my back.
Okay. So there's a problem we can't solve on our own, or we don't want to solve on our own. And so we spend money and hire somebody else. Who else has hired somebody recently? Yeah. You, yes.
I hired a landscaper.
Okay, what was the problem you were hoping to solve?
Making my front yard look beautiful for a baby shower.
Okay, so that was the outcome you were hoping for.
Yes.
What was the problem you were looking to solve?
I did.
Okay, so there was a problem with the landscaping. And as a result, you hired somebody to solve the problem for you. Okay. Not only is every job related to solving a problem, every capital expense is related to solving a problem. Who has spent like more than $500 on something for their business in the last couple months? And what was it? Yes.
My association fees.
Okay. Association fees.
It's really rough.
So what is the problem that you solve by paying your association fees?
The problem was I wouldn't be able to practice my business, which is real estate.
Yep.
And if I didn't have, if I didn't become a member of these associations. So therefore I had to pay this money
There you go.
in order to do said job.
The money we spend in our business especially, but it flows to our personal life, is to solve problems. Any hire we make is to solve a problem. Your function, your job exists because there's a problem somebody needs solved, not just for a client. What's the problem you solve for EXP?
Making money?
Well, that's the outcome they would like. What's the problem that EXP has that they need to hire you in order to solve?
Growth and production.
So that's what they want. They want growth and production. What's the problem they're looking to solve?
A lack of growth and production.
Okay, right.
Can't do it themselves. They need somebody else to do it.
They want volume. They want business, right? They have a problem. It is tricky. It's one of the most difficult things I've seen in working with leaders is making a shift from a benefits and solution and experience perspective to a problem-centric perspective. And it's difficult. It's tough. and it's incredibly powerful. One of the mistakes that professionals make is they talk about what they do. And this would go like whether it's a listing appointment or whether it's any professional interaction where you're attempting to influence somebody else and gain their cooperation. Mistake is to show up and talk about what you do and how great it is and the benefits of working with you, and letting the other person connect the dots between the problem they have, the big problem they have, and how you might be able to help them solve that problem. Often we just show up and talk about us and how we do it and what we do, and we leave it to the other person to connect the dots between the problem they have that we haven't talked about and what this person might be able to do. So what is the problem? And an MVP is the most valuable problem. So in my business, even the way I was introduced, I was asked, hey, can you give us something that we can use to introduce you? Yeah, I shared a version of my problem statement. Jeremiah helps leaders avoid the bad decisions that cost the most. That's what I do in my work. Leaders make a lot of decisions, and many of them end up, in hindsight, being suboptimal decisions, AKA bad decisions. And so what I do is I help leaders figure that out ahead of time and make better decisions. Don't make as many bad decisions that cost, especially the ones that cost the most. So what are the problems that let's talk about clients. What's interesting is when I asked who wants to work with or hire a realtor, real estate agent, some of you shared like vendors or partners, right? Loan officer, home inspector. What's the problem that a realtor solves for a home inspector in that context?
You buy their home for them.
Okay, so I heard a couple things. So lead generation, that's a potential benefit of working with a real estate agent. What's the problem inherent in that?
They need a home to inspect.
Okay, so a lack of business, right? That's a problem. And so by working with, partnering up, they think maybe you can help them solve that problem. What are the problems that you solve? Let's talk about like homeowners, buyers or sellers, clients. What are the problems that you as a realtor solve for a client?
Knowledge. Or lack of knowledge
Lack of knowledge. Why does that matter?
to the prospect, because if they don't have knowledge, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to sell their house.
And why does that matter? What's the problem inherent in there? There is a problem in there. More clearly you can articulate it, the more effectively you'll be able to influence them.
They need a change. They need a change of address. They need to either buy a home or sell a home, and they need help transacting that process.
Okay, so there's something going on in their life that makes them believe that buying or selling a home would solve the problem they have,
The 5 Rs.
right? What are those?
Or D, excuse me, let's see, diamonds, diplomas, diapers, death, divorce, or diversification.
Okay. So there are, so the problems that the homeowner has,
It's a life change that they're going through and they need, it involves real estate.
so there's a life change and what, the current home doesn't work for them because of the life change.
They're getting married, they're having a baby, they're getting divorced, there's a death in the family. Or they're
Changing finances.
job loss, or they're needing to buy an investment or income property.
Okay.
They all revolve around a life change.
More macro would be helping them understand the process. We need to put one house to another in a contingent manner to sell and move, to sell and buy. That
Okay.
transition is very complex. People don't steps, so we help them solve that.
And why does that matter?
Because it creates a lot of stress. They don't really know how it will go and the world's gonna be upside down. So we're employed to lower that temperature on that.
Okay. other problems that you solve for client.
Understanding how to get the correct payment, understanding certain rules of different loan products.
What's the problem in there?
Where are you gonna get the money to credit for a buy down, educating them on those steps?
One of the tough things about this sort of perspective change is, like, often a loan officer or a real estate agent might say something like, well, I help educate my clients, or attorneys do this. I help educate my clients. Why does that matter? We tend to focus on the things we think we do that add value, but it doesn't land in the way that we think it does. And so in the eyes of nobody who wants education about something.
People who would like to make an informed decision.
Okay, so there's a potential bad decision at the heart of that. That's a problem. What's the bad decision going to cost them? Something.
What you're saying is define it in the term of the bad decision, not in the term of what you're providing. So tell them the story about the person that they are, rather than telling them about your education.
So here's the idea.
We stand to lose.
Your value as a professional is directly related to the value of the problems you solve minus the value of the problems you create. So there are two ways to be worth more.
Don't show my wife that second.
Yeah.
But yes, this goes for personal life as well. The better you are at articulating this, the more effective and influential you will be. The more you can help somebody else connect the dots about this problem they have that's causing them frustration, anxiety, trouble, and your proven track record, what you do is I help people like you solve this problem. It's a way to articulate it much more clearly than probably anyone else is doing that they might be talking with.
So are you saying that you need to point out the problem to them first?
What I'm saying, nobody gives a shit about what you do until they're clear on the problem you can help them solve. That's what I'm saying.
True.
Unless they know how you can help them solve a problem, they don't really care about your business card, your experience, your partner, your anything else you might share with them.
They might not even know problems that they're running into.
Often they don't know the problem. They just, here's how we can uncover
Of course, they know
problems.
they
So
can't articulate.
very few people are clear on the problem that they're experiencing. Very few people. I'm not just talking about potential clients for a real estate agent. People that hire me, they know there's a problem. And I want to share about how do you help them figure out the problem. But they know there's a problem. They know there's trouble. There's drama. There's stress. There's burnout. There's these things happening. They're losing in some way. They're not really clear about what it is and why it's happening, and they have no clue how to solve it. Same thing potentially with your clients. So if you can be the person, say they're talking to a handful of real estate agents. If you are the one who can clearly, in a simple, compelling, concise way, articulate, these are the most valuable problems I help my clients solve. And you can nail their problem. Probably game over, unless you cause huge problems that they already know. So there's two ways to be worth more: solve more valuable problems, cause fewer problems. I used to coach wrestling. I wrestled high school, college, did mixed martial arts for years. And I had at least two athletes I can think of on my college team that I coached who were awesome wrestlers, great athletes, that I had to kick off the team because they were poisonous. They were toxic. They'd bully other guys. They were just like bad to have around. That is an expression of this formula. They added a lot of value, but guess what? They caused a lot of problems. The problems you cause lower in a very real direct way, measurable way, lower your value to people. So how do you figure out how do you not just figure out, because often we can guess, especially we work with a bunch of clients, there are patterns, you can kind of anticipate what the problems are. But how can you help somebody figure out what the problems that they've got, or how can you figure out what the problems are? I'll share a couple of cheats. My favorite way into problem discovery is how we feel about the problems in our life. So there are two things that point to problems. First is, my favorite is frustration. There is no better indicator of a problem than somebody being frustrated. Because frustration is the physical manifestation of powerlessness. We get frustrated when we're like, we can't do anything about it. You're stuck in traffic, you're late for a meeting. You're like, ugh. Anything that frustrates us points to a problem. Anxiety is the other. If I want to figure out or help somebody figure out what their problems are, I will ask about things like this. Hey, what is the most frustrating thing in your business right now? What frustrates your team? What frustrates you? What do you worry about? What's the thing you're most concerned about right now? What are you anxious about? On an intuitive level, I like this way into it because it's not like a cognitive, logical thought process. We're not doing like strategic problem discovery. We all know what the problems are. Like all of us. Think about the thing that is frustrating you the most in your life right now. Most frustration. That if you could solve it, like you would give anything to be able to solve it. That's a big ass problem. So frustration and anxiety are great ways into figuring out. It's not just about figuring it out. It's about helping somebody figure it out and helping them articulate what the problem is. Here's the other way. The most important leadership question there is, what do you want? Leadership is the art of gaining cooperation. Leadership is the art of gaining cooperation. If I want somebody to cooperate with me, I've got to know what they want. Cooperation means I help them get what they want and they help me get what I want. So one way to look at leadership, there's different ways to do it, of course. But one way to look at it is as this cooperation. So I need to find the win-win. I need to know what they want. So if I know what someone's goal is, could be anything, business goal, fitness goal, marriage goal, any goal, doesn't matter. And it doesn't have to be like a SMART goal, just anything they want. Be a desire, not even a goal. If I know what they want and I know the current state, I know where they are now. This is how much business I want to do in 2025. Okay, well, how are you doing right now? Here's how I'm currently doing. Beautiful thing. Yes. Problems. Problems are the things in between where we are now and what we want to accomplish or what we want to have. So another way to help people get clear about the problems that they've got, to see if there's a fit. I want to know, I'm clear on the problems I can help people solve. I want to find out, does this person have the problem? Will they acknowledge that they have the problem? Do they recognize that they have the problem that I'm really good at solving? And if the answer is no, totally cool. We're not a fit. If the answer is yes, they're probably going to hire me. So this is another way. What do you want? Where are you now? What are the things in between where you are now and what you want? And those are problems. Devil's advocate. Someone called bullshit on this idea. Test me. What what doesn't ring true about this for your job or your industry? Where does this sound off for you?
There's things about the market that we can't control.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Like, give me an example of what you mean.
Interest rates.
There's three things that involved in every transaction. Number one is us as the agent, what we do and our level of skill.
Yep.
The second is the client, either the buyer or the seller, and what they do, their needs. And the third is the market itself,
Okay,
interest rates, inventory, fear and apprehension in the market, et cetera.
okay. So how does that relate to this idea?
Well, we're setting our goal,
Yeah.
what we want to accomplish.
Yeah,
I'm only a third of my ability to actually achieve that goal.
okay,
What I do. Now, that doesn't change the need to continue to do what I do, but.
Yeah.
In any given period of time, there's only so much that I can do to ensure that I get that goal.
that is true. So are you saying, here's an idea. In any market, there are winners and there are losers. There are companies that will come out ahead at the end of the market, down market. There are companies that will gain market share and will be in a better position at the end of the market than they were at the beginning. And there are individuals who will win the market. And there will be losers in every market, even within industries, as everyone knows, even within companies, right? So there will be people here who end up winning in this market and people who end up losing in this market.
Like the Cowboys.
Yeah, like the Cowboys.
That would be the winners,
Right.
and the losers would be the 49ers.
Here's one thing I've noticed.
Likely.
So one thing I've noticed is one thing that's important to me is finding patterns of things. Because if I can find patterns over time around things like winning and losing or whatever, then maybe there's some principle or something in there that I can then use to be better at what I do. Here's one thing I've noticed about this. There are two common attributes that I've noticed over time in different industries. This goes for biotech. This goes for probably real estate everywhere. Two things that people and companies that tend to lose have in common. And those two things are that they get distracted and discouraged by the things they cannot control. And that's what's happened in this market for sure. Is it's so easy, it's natural, it's normal to get distracted by the things we can't control and then get discouraged by the things we can't control and kind of get stuck. And what I've noticed is the winners are better able to focus on what they can control. So there's, let's say, three components to your success in the market. I would argue that your skill, you got some control over that, right? I'd also argue that, and this is what we're talking about, what I'm talking about today. I think the big untapped potential or opportunity for most professionals is to get way better at identifying and articulating the relationship between what we do and the problems that they have. You're not going to, can't control the market, but you actually do have a lot of influence over this piece. Because if you're saying the same stuff that probably everyone else is saying, or the realtors are saying, you're going to blend in and not get chosen as often. So that a lot of the work in a down market that I do with people is around this one. How to think about it and communicate it different and better than you have to. If you wanted a call to action, I'll leave you with one. You want to do something, there's this, with this idea, if you email a 30-second or less video to JJ of you articulating the most valuable problem that you solve for a client, then I'll spend an hour with you working on it and help you out. If you want to do something with it, that's what you can do. Shoot a video, send it to JJ. And if you want some help on refining it, improving it, I'm happy to do that. Okay, thank you.
Guys, that was freaking incredible. I haven't written that many notes in a long time. So two things that I would encourage you all to do. One, record that video. His time is not free, certainly not cheap. And he's willing to give you an hour of it. So please make sure you get that email over to JJ, that video email. And two, be thinking about ways that you can incorporate what we learned here today. Like I was literally, before we started today's meeting, I'm going through my listing presentation and revamping it. Literally, God was up late last night working with me on this. And I realized it's a lot of me telling things that I'm doing, but not coming at it from the perspective of what problems am I solving. Problems might be, how do we promote your home? Like how is their home being promoted in its best light? How is it getting out to so many people? Mentioned earlier that I hired an attorney. Okay, I've been fighting with this company for probably 3 years. He solved this problem in 7 days. So it took me 3 years of me trying to figure this out. He solved it in 7 days. And how he was able to do it was he was able to pull up a bunch of information that I did not have access to. The public didn't have access to. But he had the resources and he got answers quickly. So how are we going to promote their property? How are we going to do it differently than other agents? And ultimately, what problems are you solving in your listing presentations? What problems are you solving in your buyer presentation? And then one thing I just learned about, so I had a guy who's with Redfin. He's currently with Redfin, fantastic agent. His name's Alan. He's with Redfin, and he was saying that he's getting buyer broker agreements signed, like very simply. And all he's doing is he's saying, and he's doing two things. One, he's saying, letting them know that this is not an exclusive thing. This is just a disclosure on how much I could be compensated. I'm not locking you into this. This is not a binding thing. But two, if you sign it now sooner rather than after you've looked at a couple of homes, I'll knock 0.25% off of what I'm charging. And he's saying most people are willing to say, hey, I'm not locked into you, and I get to save some money in the process, and they're signing. So
You know what's interesting is the buyer broker, that whole legal situation has put a spotlight on your ability to articulate value to people in a way that has never been needed.
problem are you solving? So I guess three things. One, there's a tip on up front, right? But how much is it going to cost you if you don't get it signed and they end up working with somebody else? Because so many people are scared of that. So that's one idea. And here's the thing. Let's say you're willing to do it for 2.5%. Normally I charge 2.75%. But you sign up right now, I'll knock 0.25% off. So it didn't cost you anything. Two, make sure you get your video over to JJ. And three, just be thinking about those problems. Was this helpful?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Go forth, make calls, meet new people, and we'll see you next Thursday at PCAR. All right.